Namaste friends, welcome to the second episode with Dr. Ajay Prabhakar. I'm 100% sure that you have enjoyed the earlier episode which we had with Dr. Ajay Prabhakar, and it was all about Prakrit. Prakrit, our root language, our first language. And now we are going to talk about the magical language of Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is the divine language. We consider as the divine language. Sanskrit mantras are just awesome. They are so effective and impactful. So let's understand from Dr. Ajay Prabhakar, in why Sanskrit has so much impact on our emotional, on our mental, and on our intellectual setup of our minds. So let's understand from the Dr. Ajay Prabhakar. So, what do you feel like, why didn't, as you mentioned about this mathematical formula involved in Sanskrit, making Sanskrit, so much, I'll say desirable by the intellectuals by that time as well and now as well. Like you feel very good when you are reading Sanskrit, when you are writing Sanskrit, or you are, for as far as yoga is concerned, when we are saying mantras in Sanskrit, so we feel good. But that's why it is called is a language of God, or is there something else is involved?
A very wonderful question. Anything. Let's say we start with Bhagavad Gita. Urdhva Mulamanashakam Ashwatam Prauravyayam Chandam Siyasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavita Chandam. I'm going looping myself now. It's like a DJ mixing Chandams. So the Chandas, which we talk about, which is very close to Pingalacharya, Chandas Shastra.
Yeah, that is more prominent in Sanskrit.
Chandas is beautiful, like really. As I said, the whole DNA of Sanskrit is math, is numbers.
That's beautiful, right?
Yes. The whole, if there's anything in Sanskrit that we can talk about, it's math. When the think tank or the enlightened or the people who are really, I would say people have to be really out of this world to think about a language like this. Now I come to Sanskrit here. I'm not talking about Prakrit now.
Yeah, I got it.
We should segregate. As much as I'm a big fan of Prakrit, but now I come on to Sanskrit. People have to be really off another planet to have thought about a language like this. Now, as I say, why? Why is the question? As I said, it's all numbers. So whether we go on to Chandas or Chandas Shastra by Acharya Pingala, Now when we talk about Pingalacharya's Chandas Shastra, he defines as to how to make these sounds. We have them. Now, a very important thing, you might say, what is the need for sounds? We have to understand that Sanskrit is a auditory language. It was not, different languages are designed for different purposes. When our ancestors, when our people of before found that to transmit information, it's not easy if you're just saying it, this is that is this. No one will remember it the next day or the day after that. How is it that, we can remember? I can remember cuckoos. I can remember dance. I can remember movement. I can remember music.
Yes.
So this is the way I can transmit this core knowledge that I have to the next generation. And that is when Sanskrit was designed. I say designed. I use the word designed very intentionally. Because it has to be designed. It cannot just... So many people got together and started working. It's just like a machine. So if I have to describe whether it is Acharya Panini's Ashtadhyayi or Acharya Pingala's, Chandas Shastra, now, did we know that Acharya, Panini's Ashtadhyayi, if you could make it into an algorithm, you could have words which are relevant then, 5,000, 4,000, take your call like
6,000.
3,000 or 6,000. Not before, of course,
No, not before that.
not before Acharya Panini's, letting
Yeah.
of this. But when he documented this, he created an algorithm. Now, this algorithm, what does this algorithm do, or what does this step-by-step procedure do? Is a word which he used then, so many years, so much time has passed, so much space has passed, so much of language has changed, so much of land has changed.
Yeah.
Even after so many years, what he wrote, we can understand today because of this algorithm. And what I say, like now, if someone could go back in time, they would be able to understand what I am saying.
Oh, amazing.
That's amazing. What this also
The way you are describing, I can feel that, the whole
it's
journey, I can feel it.
amazing. So what it also means is that, let's say if and now this is the next part of Sanskrit, so I was saying that, so what it means is that if I make a word or I use a word today, 5 million years later, and if this algorithm survives, this algorithm is the key to understanding what I spoke or Acharya Panini spoke or anyone, any king who spoke during that time. It is the key. It is the
Master key.
master key which decodes. It's like a cryptid message which you can decode using the rules of Acharya Panini. So this is the master stroke.
It's a God's work only. It
It's-
it's
it's
beyond
amazing.
intellectual, actually.
And as I said, this is a auditory language. It was designed not to write, so that people. So for that, the mind needs to absorb this. And what better thing than music, than rhythm, than numbers.
Yeah, all the Sanskrit sutras and shlokas, there is Vedam.
Yes. So this here is Lagu Guru. Lagu Guru. Lagu Guru. Lagu Guru. Lagu Lagu Guru Guru. Lagu Lagu Guru. This is music. So what I'm also trying to experiment and tell you is music is also made of notes. Now Lagu Guru these are the terms which were again, defined by Acharya Pingala. Chandas, we go back to Chandas now. It is a meter. Yeah, when we have to define a meter, what is a meter? Even today when we talk about a meter, it is something which we use to measure. And what is the unit of measurement in let's say today's terms?
Meter? Foot.
Feet.
Yeah, foot, feet.
So these are again, we take
Yes,
the
and
foot,
because
feet,
we have-
foot, feet. We take it from the ancient, because ancients used to use their feet to measure.
Yeah.
Now, in Chandas, we talk about Vedangas, Anga of Vedas. What it means is tools to identify or understand Vedas, right? When we talk about Vedangas, the Chandas, the meter, is identified as the feet of Vedas.
Oh.
So you see, there is so much of connection.
So Vedanta you are taking as a human form.
Yes. So what, for easily identifying or passing on the knowledge, they said Vedas, if it's the main body, there are tools which are used to, make the Vedas useful to a person. So the Chandas is the feet of the Vedas. What it means is there is no word without Chandas. Music, everything has music in it. What the ancients meant to say was everything is music, every word is music, life is music.
I think this was quantum level thinking at that particular time.
It is amazing. It is just beyond amazing, really. So this is something which, as a language, which we need to understand. So there are a few things that I like to encapsulate again. One, Sanskrit was designed so that it is an auditory language. What it means to say is, because people did not know how to transmit information. Rock etching and stuff, but if I write on a rock or etch on a rock, 1,000 years later, what is the guarantee that you will understand this language?
Yeah, what has been written.
Right. So how would I transmit information? One is songs, another one is story.
Yes. Story always works.
Yes. So what if we mix it together? That's also another way of. So if you would see our body of knowledge, whatever has been, and the world marvels at it. There's not a place where I have spoken, and people don't get up and say, "Wow, this is amazing!" Like really, in the universities in the West, whether it's Howard or other places where it's just amazing. They're just amazed by the body of knowledge. How they could just replicate this body of knowledge again and again. That's number one. Hippocampus is a area again which
In the brain.
in the brain, which is associated with numbers, which is also numbers is one part. It is also associated with spatial. It is actually associated with memory. So when you talk about memory, numbers not so much, memory too much. So when we learn Sanskrit, that's the area which is affected. Long-term, reciting of Sanskrit verses has been...
Memory improvement is there.
Yes. And it also affects the spatial reasoning, that is how to construct certain things. So this is not just I'm inventing things sitting here. It's all proven. We have had documented research papers which have done multiple years of research, which have, proved this. So these are all bodies of knowledge. Again, coming back the way transmission used to take place. So it was very essential that they transmitted this in the form of music. They transmitted this in a meter so that people will listen. Any kind of music, whether it's, you remember it better than words, number one. Any kind of body of knowledge, if it is made it into a song, rhymes, anything. So all this is encapsulated. Theorems. What are theorems? What we used to say or call as sutras is what is theorems of today. So again, so there are so many things I'm touching at the same time. So just to say that...
I'm absorbing, I can feel like, the whole vast, the world is open to me and I'm gathering, too many things at a time right now, but they are so interesting.
Yes. So all these are areas which Sanskrit affects. When I think of Sanskrit, it's like a resolution of a television. Now, as we know, our television is made up of so many small LEDs, the television of today. And what we talk about resolution. Resolution is like when we say we have a 4K TV or when we have a 8K TV. What it means is there are so many more LEDs on that small frame. Sanskrit is absolutely like that. No. It is so precise that each LED, each syllable talks so many things. Number one. Like each syllable, I'm not even talking about a word or a sentence.
Each syllable
talks about so many things. One, and that also tells you about the age of the language. For a language to reach that kind of a, preciseness, so much has passed. So, I would say each dot there, each LED there, each syllable there can be so compact because so much of knowledge has passed through. So, number one, trying to go back. Number one, even the most profound thoughts can be encapsulated in one syllable maybe.
That's true. That's completely true.
So, any kind of... And there are so many things which can be said in just one word.
Yeah. And I can relate to this particular thing because we have these Yoga Sutras. We which we learned. Not all the Yoga Sutras we have learned though, because we have 151.
Yes.
But what happened, like there are commentaries available, Swami Vivekananda. They're from other, yoga, the acharyas are there, yogis are there. Then from the institute I had them, so the Dr. Jayadeva, so he has his different commentary. So if you see the same thing, same Yoga Sutra, just one Yoga Sutra, and the commentary is,
So-
vast and different.
I'm even saying, I'm not even talking about a pile of text or a body of text. I'm talking about just even one word. Simple.
That's what I'm saying. Even one sutra has so much, then
Absolutely.
one word, if you are saying, is a huge thing. Like, there's no word I can remember. Gignatic, you can say.
It's really amazing. It's really amazing. The word sutra itself, it is, a garland, right? So it was also used. If you would see, every aspect of Sanskrit was used to memorize. It was not to write down. It was always used. Of course, writing down came much later, but it was always the oral passing of knowledge, which is so critical in a language. So the entire language, if you would see, is designed differently. It is designed for the saying, the hearing, and the mind, of course. So it's designed very differently. It's encoded very differently. That's where the Chandas comes in, or the Chandas Shastra, as we were discussing. The meter. We go back, and I want to briefly touch. It's a vast entire topic, which can be.
We'll have different episode for it.
So, but I want to briefly, touch, because Gayatri Chanda, we have the Gayatri Mantra. And this is where, I am always reminded, see, again, multiple things coming to my mind. I'm always reminded of things, when I talk about it. I talk about the Gayatri Mantra, which is a very famous, I use the word famous mantra, or a well-known mantra. And we know it as Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. But who is it dedicated to? It's a question.
Okay.
The Gayatri Mantra is dedicated to, or is in praise of who? Gayatri herself, you may say.
Yeah.
But no. The Gayatri Mantra is in the Gayatri Chandas.
Oh.
That's the reason why it's called the Gayatri Mantra. It is not dedicated, or it is not, you could see it that way, but it is dedicated to sun, Savita. So
Savita means Kiran.
Savitur, like Savitur is the body, or I could say the body which emits light. So when we say that it is the God, the verse basically means, or says that illumine me, enlighten me, repel all the darkness within me. That's what it says. But it is in praise of Lord Sun, and not Gayatri. Because when we say Gayatri, oh mother, like that's the general thing that we have in our minds when we say the Gayatri Mantra. But it is called so because it is also written in the Gayatri Chandas, or the Gayatri meter. The Gayatri meter is, again, the quarter, it's 24. So it means that 8, 8, 8, 3 times. 8 is the very famous, the octave. I could still go on again. That's another thing. So, but 8 is a very special number, and it's replicated to Tatsavidur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So 8, 8, or 7, 8, 8 rather. This is 7, 8, 8. So when you say, so we have the octaves, and that's the Gayatri Mantra. When you say the Gayatri Mantra itself, it's 7, 8, 8. But if you're talking about the Gayatri Chandas, it's 24. So it is the 24, 8 into 3, which is making that 24. So it's pure math. So when you were composing something before, okay, now it's again stage by stage, yeah? Number one, you had to get the words correct. So the first word, the sound of the word, not the writing the word, the sound of the word. Next is the context of the word. The second aspect, I am the person who's composing it, yeah? So the first is the word itself, each letter, So each letter first, the sound of the letter, the word, the context. Now, okay, this is how it is composed. Now it has to be transmitted. So the meter, so the vyakar, so these are all the different angas as we talk about. I'm just describing the machinery.
There is so many complicated theories and mathematical formulas involved.
Absolutely.
And you don't know about it.
It is not easy. No, we have a fair idea of how.
No, I don't know. Like, you being a researcher, you are aware shit. Like me, I don't know.
So I'm saying this is the process that someone who's composing a sutra or a praise verse had to go through to come with the final product. And how can it be? How can it not be perfect? Is my question. So it is having a particular form. It is having a particular meter. Then these are incorporated into a particular ritual. And of course, we have so many things. Like, as I said, I could just go on. The yantra is another aspect of it. Yantra is also mathematical. So if you would say Pingalacharya, coming back to, because I want to exhaust this one before we go ahead, because otherwise half here, half there. So instead of that, I'll finish off at least with Acharya Pingala. So when we talk about Pingalacharya, the Lagu, I talked about music,
Yeah, Lagu Guru.
Lagu Guru. So Guru is heavy and Lagu is,
Yeah, sound.
0, 1, 0, 1.
Silent.
0, 1. So when we talk about Lagu Guru, we are talking about binary numbers,
Oh.
which is connected to computation. Even today, and whether it's machine learning, whether it's AI, this is one language which can easily be used for NLP. Whether it's Alexa or Siri or Google, it can. Why? Because it's very precise. It is bang to the point. You don't have variations. Like, I saw the tree.
Yes.
Did you saw the tree or did you see the tree? Varun and Rekha are married, let's say. Are they married to each other or are they married to other
Different
people?
person.
So I saw the bat. Which bat? Is it the flying bat or is it the playing bat? So these are all complications which a language, by the way, again, just for the information of people who are discussing and people who are partaking, we have 102, 102 billion words in Sanskrit. 102 billion words.
That's beyond my math.
It's beyond anyone's, even it's...
Math is crashing in my head now, and zeros as well.
Yes, it's 102 billion words. If you have to compare it to English, which we are speaking, 5 lakh words.
Oh, no comparison at all.
Yes. 5 lakh words. And that's the reason why I have this discrepancy. So even with the small, and that's not it. Even with the smallest words, we can describe so many things with Sanskrit, which cannot be done with a language. And of course, even if you are looking at English, many of the languages are borrowed. The words are
borrowed from different languages.
Other languages. And that's what makes English of today.
I think some are borrowed from Sanskrit as well.
Again, yeah. Of course, there are so many borrowed from Sanskrit as well. And this brings us to another stop, in fact. The beauty of language Sanskrit is what we are still discussing. One of the most important aspects, since we are talking also technology, we talked about resolution, we came on to artificial intelligence, we talked about machine learning, we also talked about the language Sanskrit being used in other areas. So, if you have to talk about Sanskrit being used in any of, it is the most perfect candidate, to be used in any of these
But still it
technologies.
is not used because it is not spoken by the people.
I would say it is, we are still understanding many aspects of it. It is also having a disadvantage that it is not freely spoken. Unlike
English.
Yes, the granddaughter, English,
Multiple grands will be there.
multiple grands, English. So it's not a very recent language. It is not a language which is spoken by many people. That's number one. Number two, there are people, of course, for it to be understood like any other processing language, it has its specifications. So there needs to be, a team or a like-minded set of people who need to come together, sit and do more. So that needs to be worked out, and that's something I think which is dragging this basic adoption, I would say, into technology.
So this Sanskrit was never spoken by the people. It was just used for this, passing on some knowledge one person to another, or and written format.
Our Vedas are written in Sanskrit.
Yeah, but where people speaking this language.
So the local language. Now this brings us again. Now this is again. I'm turning the table.
Just out of curiosity, I want to understand.
It's a very valid question, and it's supposed to be addressed, and I'll try my best to address it. So when we talk about the best you can make out of a period of time is to capture the literature, and I say literature, not academic. I would say maybe plays. If you see or look at things which were adopted by people or enjoyed by people, that will give you a fair idea of how things were. So if you're looking at
I think Shakuntala, that was also a drama.
yes, let's say Abhijnana Shakuntala, which is Kalidasa's very interesting choice. In fact, when you ask for Shakuntala or Abhijnana Shakuntala, the word, it comes from Shakuntala was protected by peacocks. The whole plot, it's very beautiful again. The whole plot, in fact, if you would read through, it is all about nature. Shakuntala from that time has been trying to get us back to nature. She has been saying, of course, Kalidasa through, Avijnana Shakuntalam, has been saying, come back to nature, adopt nature, follow nature. This is one thing which, they have been screaming, from those times, and we are still trying to meet up. That apart,
I think that people or those people as well must have understood, if you are closer to Prakriti, nature, then only the whole, the clan of humanity will survive.
Absolutely. And the most important thing is, I can safely say 62 to 68% of all the dialogues which were there in Abhijnana Shakuntala about Shakuntalam were in Prakrit.
Oh, I thought it is in Sanskrit.
Vrichakatika, whether it is Avijnana Shakuntalam, or even bigger, whether it is.
One myth was crashed.
Yes. So what used to happen is, of course, you had Sanskrit as undernotes, if you would say that. So, but more than 60%.
It was in Prakrit.
Yes. Because women will speak Prakrit. Sanskrit was always given, the roles which used to speak Sanskrit were the kings, the priests, maybe princes not really, but yes. Then
It's those who are from royal families.
yes, or the learned.
Yeah, learned families.
So this is the group which used to speak Sanskrit. So whether it's a musician, women, so-called, I'm not looking at it like a sexist.
Yes, I understood it as just it was out of social
So whether
structure at that time.
So whether it is anything to do with art, culture, they would never speak in Sanskrit. It was always Prakrit. So it was a language, it's not like the crunchy. They even in many texts, they said that Sanskrit is very crunchy. And
Yeah, it's what to use your jaw.
Yes. Not only that, it is also a way to say that both of them are valid in their own ways. Sanskrit is very defined, structured. Prakriti is free-flowing. A man and a woman concept. So man could be more logical and, but a woman is more free flowing, more open
like that.
emotions.
Yes, I got it.
Yes. So that's the kind of thing which was there between Prakrit. So that is another thing which I would bring. Even many charitras, Padma Charitra, which is there are so many Ramayanas. So one of the Ramayanas is Padma Charitra, which is also the retelling of Ramayana. It is in Sanskrit, So whether it is
So that
Ramayanas,
common people can understand it.
the preaching, why is there a shift? Why did kings, even the proclamations, taxes, these are very important. Taxes
They were in Sanskrit.
in Prakrit.
Achha, they were in Prakrit. Okay. So
Because
that people pay.
anything common people, anything people related, as we say in corporate world, they say client facing, anything client facing is always Prakrit.
That they understand.
Anything which is inward facing is Sanskrit.
So just coming to the part of the decline of Sanskrit and Prakrit, of course, now you are displayed such a glory of Sanskrit and Prakrit. You feel that, heart-to-heart connection is there with Prakrit, which were, I was not aware of it, and many of us are not aware of it. Like, of course, Prakrit, we know it, but we don't know, the root of languages and, being human, Prakriti is so close to us. So that we come to know, but what exactly has been the reasons or the incidents? What was the history, why there has been a decline in Sanskrit and Prakrit?
Prakrit, there are so many documents again, whether it is Karpura Manjari, Ramba Manjari, these are all classic documents which we can read, anyone can read from whether it's different libraries or whether it's commentaries. So there are so many. We were discussing Padma Charitra, which describes Ramayana by Vimalasuri. Chandralekha from Kerala also talks about Kathakali. When we do literature is also there in Prakrit. Now you would see why I'm describing all of this is there is a whole body of knowledge, body of academic work, which is not mainstream, but it is there in people, yeah? It's like this, sometimes in our life, we maybe it's something, maybe it's a stone. We think it's very precious. We hold it, we hoard it, we get more stones like that. We hoard it. And finally, one fine day, you open it and you feel, why was I doing this?
Yeah, why was I holding on this?
Yes. And it is a stone which no one values now because I was holding it. I not allow this to go into the world as freely as it should. So there is a span of time, if you would study, that new publications in Sanskrit declined. One could be change of, these are all speculations. I am also speculating. I should be very clear because I want to stick to what is accurate and not add my own spice. So, but there is a decline, there is a change in the mental wiring as to when, Sanskrit happened, as in the origination or actually the rise of Sanskrit. And there is also a point wherein people stopped coming up with academic work of Sanskrit. Now, it could be because of change of rulers.
Yeah.
It could be less patronage.
Yeah, that is
When you have, and you also have more populist, we also have more populist, I would say more popular or more people-facing rulers coming in, wherein they used to feel if they have to communicate, like Ashoka is one of them, and so many after him, wherein they felt that if they had to connect with their subjects or the people who they are governing, they need to understand their language. They need to speak in their language. So more encouragement to all these other Prakrits. So all the Prakrits that we see today, whether it is, Hindi, Gujarati, whether it is any of the there are so many. There's a whole bundle of languages in Gujarati, Rajasthani, like
What about the languages from South India then?
Dramil, Dravidian languages, Tamil. In Natya Shastra again, Bharat Muni, says that there are certain languages which should be spoken by certain characters. So, there are certain characters who can only speak in particular languages. So, a whole lot of Prakrit comes in there. So, coming back to why I'm going there is also because Dravidian languages. So, there are so many variants which was also taken to Sri Lanka, not stopping just in India, the south of India, but going southwards again to Sri Lanka. So, we have the Sinhalese
Synonyms.
language which is there, which is also coming off from a Prakrit. So, it is a Prakrit again. So, all these Prakrits became so, it's like when I'm so comfortable talking that could also be a reason. When I'm so comfortable talking that, Sanskrit becomes a little, and it is math. It's a little taxing for the
Brain as well.
like to even talk. I'm not saying it is difficult, but it's also a mentality, And there is something simpler, and when there is something a little more difficult, we tend to go for, like when I'm speaking to you, I would rather talk to you in my mother tongue. If you and me are both okay with our mother tongue, right? Or it's something similar, So this is something which could have happened, that to encourage more popular poets or scientists, I as a king would say, let more work be done in Prakrit. So it could be any Prakrit, whether it's Saurashtri or,
Saurashtrian or Gujarati.
Whether it's Shaurya Seni, or whether it is Maharashtri, whether it's Magadhi or it's Ardha Magadhi, or whether it is any of, whether it is, there are so many. There is Elu. Elu is another Prakrit which has come from all the way from Africa. Elu in Igbo also means up. Elumelu is the example. I'll not go there. As I said, I'll stick to
India only.
So there are so many things I can go there in that direction, because there are so many connections. So even Sri Lanka, I'm not very comfortable, because there is pottery which was found which has Prakrit on it, and it is one of the Prakrits again. So there's also something which is called as Apabhramsa, which essentially means corruption.
Oh.
So Prakrits basically, like, you can say that, okay, I spoke to you, I gather your influence. Maybe we started speaking in Sanskrit, but we developed our own language, which could be Prakrit, which is a Apabhramsa. It's a corruption.
Got it.
Now, it could have happened, or it has happened, that many of these Prakrits became Apabhramsas and became their own languages. The languages in the south of India included. Now, in Tamil, there is many times on these different forums, I get this, which is older, whether it's Tamil or Sanskrit. Now, many of the logical explanations that plus uses, we have 40 or 50% Sanskrit in Tamil. So probably, Sanskrit is older. But why can't we look at it like this? What if there was a proto-language from which both Tamil has borrowed and Sanskrit?
Yeah, possibly.
We talk about refinement, Sanskrit being refined. It is like the ideal machine, the amazing ideal language, which anyone can have. So why can't it be refined from the same language as Tamil? So that would make Tamil and Sanskrit both sisters again. So it could have happened that both of them, took that language. So that's the reason why that explains that both of them will have the same, DNA, because it's coming from the same language.
Yes.
So, because there are so many words, there are so many which have the same, meaning, whether it's in Tamil or in fact, Malayalam, any of the Kannada, any of the languages that we take. So, it can only be possible in the proto-language. We also talk about the Mitane people.
Yes.
I'm trying to hold myself, but I can't hold myself. This is one thing which I'll have to...
Yeah, Hawaiian.
Yes. So Mitani people are when, why they are in focus? Because Sanskrit, we said...
Yeah, because that was too out of the context actually. Mitani and like where India. So
Yes. So how could it happen? How could it have happened that so many years ago? Because as I said, I was very careful when I was choosing my words. Where was Sanskrit? What is the best Sanskrit manuscript that we have in India? That is a question that keeps coming up. And we have this clay tablet, which is there so many kilometers away, in Iran, Syria, Turkey. That's the, geographical location that we are looking at and the language that we are really looking at. How could it have happened that you find a person called Kikuli and he's writing down how to train horses, and he starts by paying obeisance to Indra, Mitras, Varuna, and he uses the same borrowed loan words, as we call it in linguistics, loan words, like the numbers, ekam, So how could it have happened? And there are so many, in fact, when we talk about horses, the same word being used, ashwa, in the language. There are so many. Lithuanian is another language which I can think about. So let me not go away from here first. Let me finish this. So many words which are there in that treaty, which was used to discover the art of breeding horses. And you'll be surprised that many of the things that are discussed there are still being done today. For all the horses which race, many of the techniques which are mentioned so many years before, whether it is 5,000 or 6,000 years before on that tablet, are still being, used by today's horse trainers, And it mentioned Sanskrit. There are so many words of Sanskrit, and it was a local language there, which also proves to the point, or which also proves the point that this was one language which was all across, right from Indonesia to Java to Malaysia to Singapore, or the whole islands, China to India to
including China,
Pakistan. Yes, we have fair amount of text. Of course, there is migration from the language, which I will not get into. This is not the segment to discuss that, but there is migration of languages. But I'm saying we have traces of it there. So we have it all across. All across Pakistan, Middle East, going on to Iran, and then on to Africa. So the impact is so much. So the impact of Prakrit was so much that probably that's also the reason why when people found a easier alternative, maybe that's also one more reason. Also Sanskrit, to write, as we discussed, Sanskrit is more like a language which is auditory language. So when the writing came in, probably that could be one more reason. So all these are possible reasons which we can speculate could have had to the less usage. I won't say, the passing away. Because
he's going to say the passed away.
It's still alive. And if we have the strength, we should revive, we should rejuvenate both.
Prakrit and
I would also appeal to this media, to the government of India to, get Prakrit, identify Prakrit, have more studies in Prakrit so that we can have it as part of the studies, of languages, of our culture, of who we are as people.
Yeah, we can go back more, the Sanskrit, the history, like maybe 3,000, 4,000 year old BC, then it can be 8,000, 9,000 year old for Prakrit.
More study needs to be done, not more, excavations are also required. We need to excavate more, we need to unearth more, because not many excavations
But
are
that excavation can only happen in India, that has to be outside India as well, according to today's geography, if you consider, because the India was right at that time, so there we don't have the control.
Yes, at least, but what is in our vicinity, what we have,
we should do it.
We should do. And I'm sure another 1,000 years we'll have more information, and probably this video would serve as index, a marker.
I don't know about others, but at least for me, it was. I say each moment, like each 2 minutes, you have given me eureka moment. Then things I didn't know, so many things I didn't know actually about, specifically about Prakrit and then Sanskrit mathematical formula and Chanda. So that is something, now I'm clear why Sanskrit mantras are so powerful and, why you are supposed to chant them. So that clarity is there. And like, when I'm teaching to my students, I can give this explanation to them and they will be happy to know this. Yeah. So I'll say, like, I don't have the property or something from my forefathers, but this is kind of, the knowledge today you have given is feel like, the crown in my head that I can feel that. So Google has limitation, but now I feel like, I have spoken to somebody authentic who has been really there in those ages and you have given us the information. So I'm really thankful to you.
Thank you.
And we would like to have more talks with you as going ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and it was a great evening that I spent with your Blasher.
Afternoon to evening.
Kudos to you for keeping the flame alive. Kudos to you for doing such great work.
Thank you.
I pray in my own ways that you would continue to do so. Whatever be challenges would be there, I wish that you overcome and always go beyond and keep the flame alive. That's my prayer for you.
Yeah, I have this heritage now. Thank you.
Thank you too.